Hi, welcome back to another episode of Know Before You Buy the Things We Love and Hate. I'm here with my friend Robin, or my new friend Robin, because I didn't know you before today. And Dwight's sitting between the two of us for the blind audience, just so you know. And we're here going to talk about not only what Robin loves and hates in his home, but a little bit about the difference between the UK and the US. So, Robin, can you please introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Robin Spinks. I live in Scotland, just outside Edinburgh, and I'm married with two young boys, 5 and nearly 8, and I work as head of inclusive design at the Royal National Institute of Blind People in the UK.
Excellent. So you're going to be a great person to talk to about these topics because, I mean, that's your job. So tell us a little bit about the home you live in first.
So we bought what would be called a three-bedroom detached bungalow about 8 years ago, and just under 2 years ago, we took the entire roof off the house, and we went up a level, and we basically built into what was the attic, and we now have a five-bedroomed house. So we use a couple of the bedrooms as offices and spare room. And it's lovely. We're about 5 minutes from the beach, from the Firth of Forth, which is an estuary that flows out into the North Sea. So yeah, it's lovely. It's about half an hour outside Edinburgh city centre, and it's a really nice place to live.
Lovely. And tell us just give us a brief description about your family as well.
Sure. So my wife and I are both visually impaired. So my wife is blind and I have low vision. The boys are both fully sighted. We won't hold that against them. Um, but yeah, we're I guess we're a busy family. We both work full time, and the boys are at sort of nursery and then primary school. And life is busy. There's lots of activities in the evening, football and taekwondo and swimming. So we're always going somewhere. We're always doing something. And when it comes to the kitchen and domestic appliances, we've usually always got a washing machine going, and we've often got one kind of cooking appliance at least in operation.
Excellent. So in your home, what is your most favorite appliance that you have?
When I think about it, there are probably two. So one is our air fryer with analog controls, so an analog temperature dial that's very tactile, and then above it, it has an analog tactile rotary dial for time. It's actually a mechanical timer
Excellent.
with a
Yeah.
full mechanical timer sound. And the other device is what's called a risotto maker, which is a bespoke device from Sage for slow cooking and making risotto. And it contains a wonderful self agitation function, which means that you don't need to stir your risotto. How cool is that?
That is too cool, and I gotta have one of these. I wonder if they're even available here in the U.S.
I don't know. We should have a look. I mean, it's amazing. When we first got it, I had to refrain from stirring the risotto because I kept on wanting to lift the lid and stir it, and my wife was saying, "No, leave it alone. Leave it. It does it itself." And I found it hard to believe, but it does. It's your asparagus, your mushrooms, your garlic, your arborio rice. By the time it beeps, three long beeps at the end when it's finished, it is beautifully creamy and silky and really just delicious.
That sounds amazing. I want one of these things. I
Mm.
want one now. And the controls on this are very accessible.
They really are. So the controls are small stainless steel buttons, probably about the size of a thumbnail. And there is a row, a sort of arc of buttons. I think there are six in total. And they have really good tactility. They're stainless steel, and also they have good travel, the buttons, but also they beep when you start and stop. And then there are custom beeps for end of cycle, start, stop, etc. It's just a really nice product, and it's not overly expensive. It does slow cooking, so it has like slow cook, low and high. You can do saute and sear, and you can also do, as I say, the risotto function, which is probably the coolest feature of it.
I think hearing about this risotto function, I think I would use that for searing as well, because that way I could stir, like, say, the ground beef or the meat
Yeah,
chunks. And,
absolutely.
oh man, this thing sounds awesome.
And the slow cooker function is great. So you can put it on, the low is for 4 hours, the high is for 8 hours. So what's really nice is to put something on in the morning, maybe before going to work. Forget all about dinner. It gets to dinner time and the beeps are going because it's ready.
Oh, I can't tell you. 4 o'clock hell is for us. What are we gonna have for dinner? I don't know. What are we gonna have for dinner? And it's either take a frozen something out or go out for dinner because we're both so exhausted we can't even
Yeah,
think.
that's the thing. Sometimes you just, by that time of the day, you can't think. And it's difficult sometimes to make choices about what you're going to eat when you're hungry.
Yeah,
Because sometimes if you're going out that evening, you'll go for the easiest option, maybe rather than the best option.
exactly. Very much so. So tell me one thing that you actually like really dislike in your home.
Oh gosh, really dislike in the home would be probably anything that's got right angles. I'm really a sucker for rounded corners and chamfered corners, and that's partly about, I guess, butting into furniture as a kid and hurting myself. But it's also, we're both visually impaired. If you do bump into something, you want it to be soft and curved rather than be pointed.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think anything that's got a digital display where it wouldn't be possible to operate the device without sight, that would certainly fall into that category. Um, so yeah, we want well designed, clickable interfaces where there's a start point and an end point, and where you could actually do it with your eyes closed, basically.
Exactly. And I think it's really important. I mean, because you're both visually impaired in your household, the breadwinners at least,
Yeah.
you're buying things that you can only use, that only you can use. You're not buying things that are for the kids to use, and that's really key.
Yeah, I mean, they love voice interface. They've taken quite an interest already, and they always ask about blind friends that come to stay. And they really love voice controlled speakers. In fact, they play with them all the time. We make announcements that dinner's ready if
Yep.
people are in a different part of the house. But they then have decided actually that's quite cool, but maybe we could make a counter announcement. So they make their own announcements.
Exactly.
And then
Exactly.
they've also discovered how you can do voice shopping as well. So you
Uh-oh.
can imagine that that's got some downsides as well.
I had a friend when I first was testing out an Echo. When he came and saw that I had an Echo on it, he said, "Order 100 bag of cheese doodles." And it's like, and it said, "Added to your shopping list." I'm like, "No, don't do that." It's like, took me about
Yeah.
10 minutes because I had just gotten the thing to figure out how to remove it.
Yeah, be careful, everyone. Check your basket before you check out because there may be things in there that you didn't expect.
Exactly, exactly. So let's get to the differences between the U.S. and the U.K. I mean, you probably haven't spent much time here, but from what you have spent here, I mean, what do you think the most significant differences that you noted, for accessibility of households and so forth?
Yeah, I mean, do you know, it's a good question. I haven't really spent much time in a domestic appliance store here, so I'm probably not the best judge. I think overall, I would say that there appears to be more disability friendliness here than there is in the UK. I think
Oh,
certainly from a customer service point of view, I'd be very aware of people offering help, offering support, perhaps more so than I would find in the UK.
or is that because you hang out with us, those of us who are disabled, and we only bring you to the places that do that?
Maybe. That's a good question.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say that I think it's very friendly and helpful here, but I mean, for example, I showed you around my home, and these are all the things I bought because they're accessible. Let's talk about legislations and rules then. I mean, what kind of rules, legislations, standardizations do you guys have there?
I mean, we've the Equality Act 2010, which actually doesn't really deliver a huge amount, if I'm honest. I think we've seen a lot of violations of the Equality Act, but a lot of cases don't make it into court. I think that would be the difference between the US and the UK. You actually do have cases that come to court where there are declarations and There are prosecutions for discrimination.
Exactly.
We've got a lot less of that in the UK, so we constantly look to our friends in the US for guidance and inspiration on that legislative element, and we hope that in time that's something that we'll see more of in the UK. We certainly, I know at RNIB, we campaign for stronger legislation on all fronts to try and protect people and give people more independence and more opportunity. But certainly the US would, at the moment, seem to be further ahead on that front.
And it's legislative wise. It's interesting. I had a conversation with a friend of mine from Japan on this very topic the other day. And he said the way they get accessibility and things like appliances there is the manufacturers themselves work towards the standards.
Yeah.
And it's collaborative amongst the manufacturers. So he said that, one manufacturer may come up with an idea that they think will work, and they talk to their peers in the same industry, and they make a standard, and then they all start using it.
Yeah.
So they're giving up their competitive edge, but having some clear guidance that helps everyone understand what's going on and how to use the product. And like you said, here in the US, it's a very, it is a legal battle a lot of the time. But sometimes that legal battle isn't actually very effective because we get, must be 2.0 compliant, W3C website. And we all know, those of us who work in the field, that you can have a perfectly compliant website that still doesn't do anything.
I think collaboration is the name of the game. Collaborate for standards. Absolutely, we'd love to see that happen more. And also, you make a great point there about just because you're compliant doesn't mean to say that you have good usability. So yes, accessibility testing and standards compliance, of course, but also test with real users, because real users will give you genuine insights. They will tell you things that you can't learn in any other way. The other thing you should do is observed user testing. So do user testing where you actually watch what people do and how they use devices.
Exactly.
That
See
tells
how
you
see how
something.
they approach it.
Yeah.
See where they put their hands first and second. It's having a person talk to you and give you ideas is critical. It's really critical. But also watching how they problem solve is very, very key, because that problem solving and their exploration should help you understand what the flow and the interface should be.
Absolutely.
I think it's really, really key. And it's really disappointing for me to see, I am a child of the Commonwealth. I'm Canadian. And we too don't have very many laws that actually go to court in Canada. We have, the National Civil Rights Bill, but it's not, it's very, very hard to actually prosecute on that. And usually all you can get is your, in the case of things like housing, for example, you might be able to get a landlord forced into letting you live there. But I apologize, everyone. Dwight has decided to dream on us here now.
He's so comfortable lying on the sofa between us.
Yeah, he's laying here with his head in Robin's lap, and now he's started to have a dream. But yeah, I once had a landlord tell me I couldn't even enter the building to visit a person because I had a dog.
Goodness me.
And, I filed it with the Civil Rights Board, and I got a very angry phone call. You can come here with your thing. And, that's the best I could have accomplished out of that. And ultimately, the person moved because they didn't feel comfortable in a place that was going to be aggressive and rude to their friends.
Absolutely.
And that's what ends up happening when we don't have actual, penalties, and we don't have the education. Because in the US, we probably wouldn't have as many suits if more people actually knew what the rules of the laws were. And let's face it, if more people were just civilized, decent human beings.
Absolutely. I think, we've seen some great advances in accessibility, but we've got a long way to go before, genuine inclusive design is the order of the day in the design of public services, consumer products and services. So, it's, I think, incumbent on all of us who live with a disability to advocate. That's the other part of this. Tell manufacturers when they've done it well, when they've done it really good. Tell them and show them. And also tell them when they've not.
Sing it from the rooftops. I mean, I always think that, we get much more effectiveness when we actually praise the work that's done well. It's important to tell people when
Yeah.
they've not done it well,
Yeah.
but I think it's actually more important to tell people what's been done well.
Yeah.
And celebrate and award that.
Definitely. And I think for all of us, we probably don't do enough of that. Do you know, when we come across something really good, do we take the time to actually feed that back and share that? And maybe even share it with other competitors who aren't doing it as well. Tell them what the competition's doing that makes the product much more usable and more delightful and enjoyable to use.
Exactly, yeah. So we're getting close to the end here. What would be the one thing you'd want to tell manufacturers, that are creating appliances? What would be the one thing you'd want to have them take away from this video?
Think about and understand the diversity of human life. Not everyone sees, hears, touches, moves in the same way. Talk to disabled people and listen. They'll give you brilliant insights that will make your products and services better for everyone.
That's fantastic. I couldn't agree more. Thank you very much for joining us for Know Before You Buy. Thank you for watching today's episode of Know Before You Buy, the Things We Love and Hate. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please be sure to subscribe, click like, and leave me any comments. And join me next time for another episode.